Hey people of the internet, this is Arkivian and I just saw the first episode of season 2 of Luke Cage. And you know what? The first episode is good, I like it. Oh my god, I'm gonna try and watch as many episodes as I can, but I just wanted to put out a first impression of what I got from this first episode. So did I like the previous season of Luke Cage? Yeah, I liked it a lot. It's like number 2 of the Netflix series for me. My favourite was Jessica Jones and then Luke Cage, because the last couple of episodes of Luke Cage, the tone switch was just too much. But this has just now started. And I thought, okay, I haven't watched season 1 in ages. Let me see if this kind of pulls me back in. And in the opening scene, does it. It's like, yeah, man, we're a comic book show, remember? And what it does, it's like, it's really stereotypical. And they're in this kind of like drug warehouse, and it's really standardized. It's like people in underwear sorting drugs and stuff, with like guards around the room watching them. And what's really good about it is, okay, this is all a stereotype, which means any minute, Luke Cage is gonna bust in and show himself being awesome. And that's what I want to see at the start. That's what's gonna get me pumped. And that's what happens. And Luke Cage comes in, and all the people sorting the drugs are like, ah, and they run out of the room. And then Luke Cage is like, really, guys, really? And the guys are like, well, we have to show that we tried. He's like, oh, fair enough. And he just wrecks them. He wrecks them all. And you're like, yes, awesome start. I like it. And then after that, it goes to the opening credits, and it feels kind of like Shaft and James Bond got together and just jammed. And what came out of that jam was Luke Cage theme music. Then after the credits, you had that guy from Fan Stick, you know, the fake dad scientist guy who was like, son, you must stop racing cars and become an interdimensional astronaut because you have so much potential. You know that guy. Well, he was practicing this sermon into a mirror, and it's pretty cool, but it's kind of an exposition dump, really. But it starts off, and it basically tells you where Luke Cage is now. Basically, he's on top of the world. Everyone knows who he is. He's basically a badass. Everyone knows him, loves him, wants to be him. But then he talks about him like people worship him like a golden calf, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So yeah, he's looking up at him, but now he's saying people are worshipping him too much. So at least that's what that says to me. And then the tone changes a little bit, and then it's like, you gotta be your own hero. And I'm like, you know what, that's fair. That's fair. You can't just rely all on one guy. You know, it's great he's doing what he's doing, but yeah, you gotta be your own hero too. But then he's like, you can't trust the man with all that power because the man will sink to his nature because we're sinners and we're corrupt and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh no. No, I thought you were gonna be like some kind of moral compass or some kind of background narrator. You're just gonna occasionally do a sermon and give us an update and exposition dump. But no, you're bringing him down, and you realize Luke Cage is gonna have a fall. Everything this episode is telling you, Luke Cage, life's going so well right now. You know shit's gonna fuck up, man. And then it goes to the barbershop, and that was a pretty good setup because there's the young guy and the other guy. I don't remember their names. I just remember like the older guy was in the last Luke Cage. It's been ages since I watched it. And so they're having a chat, and the younger guy's trying to make Luke Cage YouTube famous, and he kind of already is. And he's trying to get merch and everything. He's like, yeah, man, you gotta maximize profits. And they just have this great back and forth. And during the back and forth, what they start talking about is the identity that Luke Cage has in society and what message he's putting across. Where the old guy's like, yeah, we had pictures and images back then, but they were specifically there to communicate a message of what was going on. And he goes, yeah, we're doing that too. It's about making money, and that's how the world works. So it's kind of cool having these two opposing views. Maybe not opposing views, but conflicting views. And they both want to see what they interpret in the idea of Luke Cage. And on one side it's making money whilst defending the people, and on the other side it's defending people for the sake of defending people. And then you got Misty and Claire Temple, and Claire's helping Misty with physio because Misty had her arm chopped off in Defenders. And you're like, yeah, man, Claire's being awesome, Misty's being awesome, and you're just like, oh my god, I love both these characters. They're amazing. They're both in the same scene straight away. That's what I wanted. I feel hyped. I want to watch the rest of the scene. And then you see how much pain Misty's in. You're like, goddamn, Misty, it must hurt so much. You lost your arm. You can't do your job. It seems like she's showing pity, but then Claire's like, nah, this ain't pity. This is appreciation. We get what you did. And then you see that look on Misty's face. I really like how she plays the character because you can see she's kind of broken up because she's lost the use of her right arm. But what's really important about it is, as much as she's broken up, she's in a state where it's really hurt her life. It's changed her life. But she's constantly trying to find things to keep going, to keep moving, to not just give up and wallow. And I think it's actually, as sad as it is, I think it's actually a really positive spin on how they could have gone about this entire situation. Then you see Shades, you're like, Shades! And then you see him with, is it Mariah or whatever her name is, and you're like, whoa, they're still working together. Oh, they're together. So good on them, you know, they can be evil together, you know, trying to take over the world. Of course. So those guys are both getting into effectively extortion. They start hiring these hostesses to try and get information on their clients. And essentially it's so they can commit corporate fraud. Because as she says, if they just can do this one last job, again, it's that one last job scenario, then there'd be no more risk. They'd have enough money to do everything for the rest of their lives. However, Shades is telling her, look, man, we can make enough money right now. We can have enough money for the rest of our lives. We don't have to worry. We just keep doing what we're doing. But she's like, no, don't want to look over my shoulder. Don't want none of it done. I just want it done. I just want to be rich. Done. So that's pretty much where they're at the moment. Because there's another good scene where Luke and Cage, they're having lunch at a restaurant. And Luke is telling her about the guys he just beat up at the start. And that there's a drug with his name printed on it. So she's like, why do you care? And he's like, well, it's my name. You know, I don't want people going around selling drugs in my name. And she goes, so what you're basically doing is protecting a brand. He's like, yeah. And then he kind of realizes where she's going. She's like, yeah, that's right. We've got to pay the bills. We've got to start asking for some money. He's going to treat it like a brand. You've got to get paid. But really, it's interesting that she calls it a brand. And he's like, yeah. It's about how the brand is perceived. And to be honest, what I'm seeing a lot of in this episode, okay, you sort of see this rise of Luke Cage, and everything's going good, so you know a fall's eventually going to come. Everyone's foreshadowing all over the place that you're going to have this fall, and you're just waiting for Luke Cage to get just a little bit too egotistical, which he does by the end of the episode. But the other things they seem to be focusing on is how important symbols are. So for example, and yeah, I'm going to use religion just because it's easier to explain. If you have a cross and you show it to a Christian might see that cross as something more than a cross. They might see it as the place where somebody sacrificed and died for them. They might see it as a reflection of somebody has forgiven them for the stuff that they suffer through life. To somebody who isn't of Christianity at all, they might just see a cross. And that's it, and care nothing more for it other than that. And then within Christianity, each person from each branch of Christianity will have an individual relationship with that cross, and they'll have their interpretations on top of the common interpretation they have with the other people who worship the same faith, and so on and so on. The point is, the symbol matters and means something different to lots of different people, whilst at the same time meaning something similar to a lot of different people. The same thing also happens with national flags and crests, where people interpret the meaning and have a personal attachment and interpretation on what that flag means and represents of themselves and their countries and what that means and so on. And so the idea that Luke Cage is actually a brand and a symbol and all these different things, and they're all being decided on by people other than himself. And then you find out, which I'm sure was probably mentioned in the last season, but I didn't realise, that when he finally has the interaction with the preacher, which is his dad, and I was like, oh shit, that's his dad, oh damn, and he's an arse, oh damn. And that's when you find out Luke Cage's name isn't even Luke Cage, it's Carl. Luke Cage's dad says he doesn't care that Luke Cage named himself Luke Cage. Your name is Carl, I gave you that name. Yeah, and it's more like a form of ownership, yeah? So Luke Cage seems to be pushing away from that, so he labeled himself Luke Cage. So really, it's about branding and symbols and trying to control and influence how everybody else interprets a symbol. In this case, Luke Cage. Now there's more to the episode. There's some cool scenes like when Luke Cage is like, what's my name? And you're like, yeah man, Luke Cage, goddammit. And then another scene where Claire Temple's like, what's my name? And you're like, oh yeah man, you get it. And then there's just the way Luke Cage dispatches one of the bad guys with a slap to the forehead. And then Claire Temple, you think she got caught at the club, but what she was actually doing was taking pictures. And she's like, yeah man, I just pretend I was doing selfies. Got all the pictures we need. But then you get the Bushmaster. Now was his entrance badass? Yeah, I say it was. He's just sitting there, fellow gangsters come in, tells the fellow gangster where to go, says he's the Bushmaster, then just capoeiras everyone in the face, just capoeira all over the place. And you're like, oh my god, it's bulletproof. And then you find out, no, it's not bulletproof. The bullets went in, they just didn't seem to do any damage. So you're like, is he undead? Is he a zombie? Is he got some bad juju going on with him? I don't know what's going on with him. But it's going to be interesting. He doesn't seem super strong. He just seems to be able to fight really well. And he still seems to get hurt, or at least the bullets do damage. But it doesn't seem to mean anything to him. Now, seeing in the trailer, he does some flip kick and knocks down Luke Cage. But I don't really see how that's actually going to really do anything other than knock him down. I mean, Luke Cage will just get back up and then crush his head. Luke Cage is invulnerable, at least from the outside, you know. Oh, that being said, Luke Cage gets shot by that super tech gun that mashed him up in season 1, and this time round it bounced off him. So what's going on with that? Is his powers upgrading or something like that? See, so I don't know what's going on there. I'm wondering if his powers are just gradually evolving over time. So I need to see what's coming with this Bushmaster. Bushmaster doesn't feel like a threat for Luke Cage. It feels like a threat for every other gangster, just not so much for Luke Cage at the moment. Anyway guys, that's what I got from season 2 episode 1 of Luke Cage. There's actually quite a lot that happened in it. Overall, I actually really liked this episode more than I thought I would. The pacing for me was really good. Loved the music throughout this entire episode. I like Luke Cage. Some bits that I suppose the only downside is that it's kind of predictable, but It's the first episode, they're trying to get you into it, they're introducing characters. I think it's meant to be predictable. I think they want you to know where it goes. It's more about how the characters react to the obvious conclusion for this episode and everything that happened in it. It'll be interesting to see where the next episode goes. I hope it keeps up with this pace and it keeps me interested. Anyway guys, thanks for watching and I'll catch you guys next time.